Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. My name's Dan Kennett, and with me to discuss the win over Southampton and then the very difficult loss to Crystal Palace on the weekend. Unfortunately, we don't have Sam Hamza. He is otherwise engaged with work, but I do have the rest of the team, and we maybe have a special guest coming up as well. First of all, broadcasting live from his tropical island paradise, it's Dr. Phil Barter. Evening, Phil.
We do, boys. You all right?
I've been better, mate.
Yeah.
not gonna lie.
For sure.
But also the man who has churned out at least 16,000 blog articles this week. It's Mr. Simon Brundish. Evening, Si.
Evening, boys. What a depressing week, eh? Just one game makes such a big difference.
What a week for content for you, though, mate. I tell you.
Yeah, it's the content I prefer not to write. I can't deny.
Yeah. Yes, and we will be talking quite a bit about Sergio Leone when we went in the end of the Southampton section, but we're only going to do some key points from the Southampton game, the win, 2-1 win over Southampton in the League Cup. I think the first thing I want to focus on, Si, is what we ended the last pod on, which is what effectively I almost asked you what do we need to do in the League Cup with the usage of our players that you can get behind, and what you described pretty much actually happened. So do you want to outline to people what, again, for those who didn't listen right to the end of the last show, what it is that you liked about this selection and what it is that we've learned from last season and previous seasons?
Is that we've had this off pod discussion earlier about the size of a squad, and the size of a squad it actually means different things to different people, But I think most people that have been either around football or more likely playing some kind of simulation, Championship Manager, Football Manager, FIFA, any of those games, they kind of think the size of the squad is around the number of players per position, and you would go, a good squad is 2 players per position, so you can rotate and keep the good player, whoever's in form in the team, get your best player, that kind of stuff. But the problem with that is that if you like last season, just pick your best players every game. When one of them gets injured, the player that's going to come in hasn't been primed to be playing 2 games a week. So their training is going to be set up around whatever the first team's training is. So it won't be very intense, because when the first team play 2 games a week, there's no intense game day. There's no intense training day. It's just recovery, embedding new tactical style, game. Recovery, embedding new tactical style, game. So the reserves don't get any high intensity other than the faux in high intensity stuff you saw from this game at half time when Isaac was sprinting up and down the pitch. It's just not the same. So you can kind of replicate this high intensity running, but you can't really replicate the intensity of bursts, of acceleration, deceleration, change of direction stuff that both your muscles and your cardiovascular system and how you produce energy, that it needs to keep that topped up. You obviously need the whole form and stuff, but there's also a dancing element that you need. There's synchronicity of movement that needs to occur, and on top of that, there's a how I describe it as the spring quality. So if you don't repeatedly boing, you start to lose the boinginess of your tendons, and stopping really fast and accelerating really fast, it comes from a similar place in the joint system, and you need that. And if you can do it in a reactive way, you will see lots of stuff about agility training. If you go on Instagram, there are all sorts of nonsense videos about agility training. You'll see lads either doing dancing on a speed ladder, or they'll be running through sets of cones. But what you don't get is the connection between the feet, let's say, and the brain, which needs to be in synchronization. And it needs to be rapid. So you see a stimulus and you have to react to that with the right correct body postures and impulses in the right direction, so you can get away. In the long-winded way, if that answer to if you don't have these games for those backup players. They can't do that when they're ready, so they break. So you get a centre-back who gets a concussion or cuts a head open, can't play the next game. You get his reserve in, and he just pulls a hamstring. That's what happens. Then suddenly you have 2 injuries, and then the centre-back who couldn't play, missed 2 games, missed training because of his concussion, comes back in, and he's no longer primed. He rips a hip. Then you've got 2 injuries, and you're down to your 4th centre-back, who also has not been playing. He pulls a calf, you're done. 3 of your 4 centre-backs are injured because one guy got injured because the reserves weren't primed. That's the bottom line. They have to be ready to come in by having some level of warmth in their system. They need to be primed and ready to be playing.
Yes, and just before we come on to the flip side of that, I just realised I did say Sergio Leone instead of Giovanni Leone. You know, Sergio Leone, for our younger listeners, is a maker of classic American westerns, such as The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, A Fistful of Dollars, A Few Dollars More, Once Upon a Time in America. Just watch them all; they're all fucking great. Anyway, we'll talk about Giovanni Leone shortly. But the other thing you mentioned, Si, was the thing about not even getting the first team regulars in the squad or on the bench. Just don't even turn up to the stadium. Just stay home. The flip side is that there were 7 players who weren't even involved. What's the benefits of that approach?
They get to actively rest instead of having to prime. So if what you've seen in the past, I think this has been a fairly well-established protocol across football, that you might get the senior lads, they might not play in the first round of the FA Cup, or they might not play in the first round of the Carabao, but they'll still come to the game. They still sat on the bench, which means training has been structured that week around that game taking place. Mm-hmm. So there's no provision for what that footballer needs in the context of that week, but in context of that season. It's still just structured around the game. So what we've done, what we've taken advantage of, the thing I've been espousing for 5 years, is that this week is only seen as a tool, a mechanism for loading to get the players the right acute chronic workload relationship up or down, however they need. And the ones that need to come down, they can just go lie in bed. They can just go and hang out with their kids, which is most of our players have kids now. And they can take that physiological and psychological stress off. They can come to the game if they want. If it's a home game, they don't need to travel. Yeah, all of that stuff. And training will be curated for them specifically for what's best for them at the weekend and what's best for them in the context of the season, not training to get ready for that single individual game.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, Si. Now, Barts, we're not going to have a stats pack for this game. We haven't got one. It's difficult getting early League Cup stuff anyway. But I think it's fair to say, I don't know if you've got the image lined up, but there was one standout performance that any stats highlights show would not be complete without this pretty remarkable set of numbers, wouldn't it? So we're going to talk about Federico Chiesa. Barts, and we'll see if we can get it on the screen for you.
I've got it for you there. I don't know if I get any bigger for you. Can I get any bigger?
Yeah.
There we go. Let's go a little bit. Now, there we go. Yeah, so he, quite remarkably, I think you put this in the chat pretty much straight after, actually, didn't you? 4 shots, 2 assists. I think he had expected goals of 0.2, post shot of 0.09, 0.8 expected assists. That's big. Defensively contributed 4. He had 25% on target accuracy, which it's not his worst one actually. 50% dribbles, and defensively he made 2 interceptions, 3 recoveries, 1 block and 1 tackle. So ground duels 56%, which isn't bad considering he's playing in the wide. Well, he played all cross country, didn't he?
I think the real thing is that he's created 4 chances there, and all 4 of them are down as the up to big chances. I don't think that's ever. I think there was some clarifications about people trying to find out if this has actually occurred before. Put it this way: people were looking so hard that we can. There's a safe case that this might be unique stats.
Yeah,
that never been. Yeah, and obviously both the goals, but there was also he set up a header for a headed chance for somebody, didn't he, as well? I think was it Isak, another one.
No, I think it was Ekitike, wasn't it? Late on.
Oh yeah,
just before the goal, actually. So yeah, I thought he was. I think the words I heard, I think you mentioned it was intensity. He played with an intensity we hadn't seen from that particular area of the pitch. The way he hounded down the ball for Isak's first goal was exactly what we expect to see from our front line, and that just hasn't been a characteristic this season. So yeah, it was incredible, really good. And I actually thought the second goal where he laid it on our plate for Ekitike was just, I thought it was a real team first dynamic. So I've talked about that a lot. He's
we talk about that touch pass.
Yeah, he's a 40-yard sprint or 40-yard, to break the line. He then touches it first time, beautiful control, and then
was it ball over the top from Robbo? Ball over the top from Robbo.
Great ball, takes it down, and you're thinking other players would have said, "Well, this is my moment. I'm going to score the winner." But he just said, "No, team first. If I roll it to my right, I increase the percentage of this chance by exponentially, and here you go, knocks it in, and that's 2-1. That's the game." But I just thought that was a real. It was a great.
I don't think that first touch has got enough love.
No,
from our fan base.
It's like it's not quite Mo level, but it's a decent touch.
Well, I mean, it was filthy. It was so good. Si, I mean, it was a beautiful goal, which had consequences, didn't it, Si?
He's a bloody idiot.
Yeah.
The main consequences is I had to defend this against my father-in-law yesterday. It's my daughter's 21st. We had a big family party, and the whole house is over making fun of him. Not even making fun. It's that step further, because that's the society we live in now. It's not, you just don't just make fun. He has to be utterly condemned. And you've got a kid that they didn't even know the name of a week ago, that is now like a heinous human being because he took his shirt off. And the context of which he did maybe a little bit of a petulant got a petulant yellow card because he was being tugged. And he was right in that similar things happened in the last two games. The referee got the decision wrong, and he was frustrated, and he bounced the ball into the ground, and it bounced up in the air. And referees never don't book somebody for kicking the ball away. You can kick people all you like, but you never kick the ball away. And then I'd imagine, given the nature of his signing, then the palaver that goes on afterwards until we get Isaac, and he's been utterly brilliant this season, I would say. He's been our star signing so far. That he loses his place, and he's going to lose his place to this guy, and he scores. And I think he's just like, check me out. Just remember this. This is not cool. And I totally understand his feeling. He was just stupid in the way he went around it. I think he's totally even right, justified in feeling the way he feels. But just for a second, you lose your head. And he did, and took his shirt off, got booked. And then we don't win at Crystal Palace, and it's Ekitike.
Yeah, and I think the real thing that matters is the very last sentence there, that we didn't win on the weekend, and I think he would have played a significant role in that game if he'd been available. And I think that's and now we've played the harshest penalty possible, and I think it's fair to say some lessons will have been learned.
Well, the biggest thing from my perspective is that he undid some of the stuff I just spent 15 minutes talking about.
Yeah. Because people had to then play
he
more
would have
than
started,
expected.
wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He would have started at the weekend. So,
Isaac literally had this very specific loading pattern, and so much so that he didn't come off at half time. They just made him run 700 meters of high speed because they want to build his load in a specific way for a specific game. And then he had to play 84 minutes on Saturday instead, when that's not what they would have planned. So there'll be consequences in the following game for when he would have been planned. If you remember, I put that was the game when he first signed that I thought he was going to start and play a significant game in Galatasaray. So he's clearly ahead of schedule, but he still have messed with his loading.
Yeah,